Based on extensive reporting from human rights organizations, academic studies, and global surveys, a strong case can be made that Muslims and Islam face the most widespread and institutionalized bias in global mainstream media. Here's a breakdown of the evidence and context for this claim, along with other groups that also face severe bias. The case for Muslims and Islam. Multiple sources point to Islamophobia as a pervasive issue in global media, particularly in Western media ecosystems. Global surveys and reports. A Pew Research Center report, 2021, found that in many countries, negative views of Muslims are common. In several Eastern European nations, for instance, over half the population holds unfavorable views. The UN Special Rapporteur on Freedom of Religion or Belief has repeatedly identified Islamophobia as a rising and serious threat globally, often fueled by media stereotypes. Media monitoring studies. Studies, like those from the Bridge Initiative at Georgetown University, consistently find that Western media coverage of Islam and Muslims is disproportionately linked to violence and extremism. Muslims are often portrayed as a monolithic group, ignoring the vast diversity within the global Muslim community of 1.8 billion people. Terms like Islamic terrorist are commonly used, while similar religious labels are rarely applied to perpetrators of other faiths. Political and social climate. The war on terror following 9/11 created a lasting framework through which Muslims are often viewed in many Western countries. This has led to policies like travel bans and widespread surveillance, which are often reflected in and reinforced by media narratives. In countries like India, the rise of Hindu nationalism has led to widespread and often negative media portrayal of Muslims, sometimes depicting them as disloyal citizens or a demographic threat. Nature of the bias. The bias is often not just overt hatred but more subtle forms of stereotyping, generalization, and a constant framing of the faith through a lens of security threat and cultural incompatibility. Other groups facing significant bias. It is crucial to recognize that bias is not a competition, and other religious groups face severe and often violent prejudice. Jewish people and anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is one of the oldest forms of religious hatred and remains a potent force. It often appears in conspiracy theories about global control, Holocaust denial, and attacks on Jewish institutions. Media bias can be complex. In some far-right and far-left media circles, anti-Semitic tropes persist. In mainstream Western media, criticism of the Israeli government is a highly sensitive topic, and accusations of anti-Semitism are often debated in this context. But there is widespread support for Jews too, especially in the USA and Europe, even at the cost of Muslims. Christians as a persecuted minority. While Christianity is a global majority religion, in certain regions, Christian minorities face extreme persecution and bias in local media. This is particularly acute in North Korea and some communist states, where all religion is suppressed. Parts of the Middle East, example, Egypt, Iraq, Syria, where Christian communities have faced violence and displacement, often with little international media attention. Some regions of India and Nigeria, where they face violence from militant groups. Other religious minorities, Hindus and Sikhs. In the West, these groups often face bias rooted in ignorance, including being misidentified and subjected to Islamophobic attacks. In some contexts, they also face political bias. Buddhists, while often stereotyped as universally peaceful, in countries like Myanmar, extremist Buddhist nationalism has targeted Muslim minorities, a complex dynamic that is sometimes oversimplified in media. Indigenous and folk religions. Followers of these faiths often see their beliefs marginalized, misrepresented, or erased entirely from mainstream discourse. Atheists and non-believers. In many religiously conservative countries, atheists face severe social stigma, legal penalties, and are often portrayed in media as immoral or untrustworthy. Key factors that complicate the answer. Geography. Who faces the most bias depends entirely on location. Muslims may face the most bias in Hungary, while Christians may face the most bias in North Korea, and Jews may face the most bias in certain extremist online forums. Local versus global media. A local media outlet in India may be biased against Muslims, while a major global network like the BBC or CNN might be accused of various biases by different groups. Power dynamics. Bias against a minority group within a country is different from bias against a global religious community. The impact is often most severe for marginalized groups without political power. In conclusion, based on the scope and scale of reporting, Muslims are frequently identified as the religious group facing the most pervasive and institutionalized bias in global mainstream media, particularly in the post-9/21st of a stone century. However, it is vital to acknowledge that anti-Semitism remains a deadly and persistent threat, and Christian minorities in certain regions face extreme persecution that is underreported. Ultimately, religious bias is a global problem that manifests in different ways against different groups, and addressing it requires vigilance and a commitment to fair and nuanced representation for all.